Yeah, so I was there looking at my Schwab interface and realized I had like over 50 grand of cash that had never been invested. So I had to click the button to follow through on that.
Wait, whoa. You realize, this happened to you?
This can happen to anybody, my friend. Yeah, when you have a rollover IRA or an inherited IRA, there's a critical last step that you got to make sure to do. But don't worry, we're going to tell you today exactly what that is.
Hey, and you'll want to hang on till the end of this episode, because speaking of discoveries that you make, we're going to talk about another discovery, something that might be hanging over your head a little bit, and we are going to take the pain out of it for you by experimenting on ourselves. And this is Practical Finance for Parents with certified financial planner Mike Morton. I'm your not very certified host, Matt Robison. And look, this is what we're all about. We're not like other financial shows that make you feel even more overwhelmed with your to-do list that never gets any shorter, all the things that you're missing out on. We're going to focus on simple steps that make your life easier and that put items on your to-do list away. And today we want to talk about an item that you might not even realize is on your to-do list. Many people don't, but it's very easy to solve, and it really pays off to take care of it. And Mike, it happened to you. I can't believe that even you, if it can happen to you, it can happen to anyone, right?
That's exactly right, Matt. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. So yeah, this is inherited IRAs, rollover IRAs, or even just in my case, it was in my brokerage account, that you have this flypaper effect where money just kind of sits. It's inertia, right, Matt? So we're very prone to just keeping the status quo, and we don't want to deal with finances to begin with. So whatever is kind of sitting there is the way it sits there. And so every now and then, you got to poke your head up and pay attention to that.
Right. And I mean, it's happened to me. I have to imagine that this happens to a lot of people, right? You take care of something that it can be a little bit of a pain, right? Like you roll over an IRA, you inherit an IRA, and it's like, all right, I've set it up, I've done the paperwork, done. And it's like, you're almost there. You're almost there. But that last bit really, really matters. Okay. Can we just, so we're clear, because I do get confused. Can we just define some basic terms here? What's a rollover, man?
What's a rollover?
Sounds risque.
Yeah, exactly.
Do I want one of these?
It's funny. We do these quite a bit because, as you know, Matt, how many different like retirement accounts might you have?
I mean,
so many.
Good problem to have, right? Yeah. But like the average person, I saw this stat somewhere. Here's a statistic that's probably not true, that the average professional changes jobs 8 times in their career.
8 times.
Like you might have IRAs, 401ks, 403b. I'm just making up numbers now. You might have XKJ47 space modulators. No, wait, that's Marvin the Martian. But you might have all kinds of stuff.
That's right. Yeah, most people, everyone I run across has old 401ks, has a couple of different IRAs here and there, Vanguard and Fidelity and Schwab accounts. So sometimes we like to consolidate those, simplify those accounts, right? So you can transfer an IRA to another IRA, or you can transfer your old 401k to an IRA. All right. So this is moving money from one account to another. And typically that ends up in a rollover IRA. So that's where the word rollover comes from. You take a 401k from a previous job and you can...
a retirement plan with an employer.
That's right. A retirement plan with a previous employer, previous job, and it's sitting there and it's got 30 grand in it. And eventually 3 years later, you're like, oh yeah, I have 30 grand I forgot about. And you could transfer that into your own individual retirement account, an IRA, and the type of IRA you would use there would be a rollover IRA. So you open that up at Fidelity or Schwab or Vanguard, a rollover IRA, and then you do the paperwork to transfer your 401k from that old employer into your rollover IRA.
Got it. I've done this before. I've done this, and I ended up with a rollover IRA with one of the firms you just mentioned. Okay. All right. I get it. then what happens? Because I feel like this is getting us toward the step that I'm pretty positive I missed and a lot of people miss. So what happens when you roll over money from one of
Yeah.
these?
So what happens is in the 401k you might be familiar with, you only have certain investment options, right? Like you maybe had 30 different funds you could pick from. You couldn't pick, any individual stock you wanted. That's how those are run. So when you transfer money, it doesn't come in terms of those investments. It actually gets transferred as cash. So they sell whatever in the 401k and transfer it to your rollover IRA, and it arrives in the form of cash. And so you have 30
Right,
grand.
like in a cartoon, like in two sacks with a money symbol on it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They're driving it down the road with your 30 grand in the back in a money sack,
everyone.
with dollar bills, printed on the bags.
Actually, that image I was making a joke, but it's helpful to me to differentiate because your money is invested when it's in your 401k in some investments that the administrator has chosen. Here's the menu. But then when you roll it over, it kind of metaphorically is in those sacks with dollar signs on it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it gets transferred as cash. So this happens in all kinds of ways. So I mentioned the 401k to the rollover IRA. It arrives in your rollover IRA as cash. So the same is true if you have an inherited IRA. I mentioned that word. So an inherited IRA, again, it's another IRA, individual retirement account. In this case, it comes from somebody that passed away that left you some money. So yay for you, I suppose. In that case, maybe.
Look on the bright side.
Yeah, look on the bright side. So this, and it might be from an old 401k. In fact, it could be from that person's IRA. It could be from a 401k, and eventually, again, via some paperwork, it ends up in an inherited IRA, which has its own set of rules. But again, it's going to arrive in the form of cash. And so these things end up as cash. And you might think, exactly, Matt, to your point, wow, I've done all this work. I finally got this account, finally finished. And you forgot the critical last step, which is it's sitting in cash. So a stat from Vanguard said 2/3 of people that had inherited money had no idea that it was still just sitting in money market funds.
Wow. That's a lot. All right. So it used to sit somewhere. It's like an Etch-a-Sketch. You drew something on it. And then when it ends up with you through a rollover inheritance, you've shaken it and you've got the Etch-a-Sketch, but you still need to draw something on it.
Yeah.
How's that for dating myself with a metaphor? All right.
There you go.
So that's the step that people are missing is it's just sitting in cash. Is that bad? I mean, I like cash.
Yeah, cash is good. So, I mean, it's been fine for a while, right? Because that money market fund at Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab has been earning, more than 5% interest for the last couple of years. So it's been pretty good. Not as good as the stock market, which has gone up even more so this year, but it's been not bad. But now, of course, interest rates are going down. And so you really do want to evaluate, wait, do I have one of these things? Did I ever pull the trigger on figuring out those investments? And if you have cash in general in any of your accounts, now is a great time to really be figuring out, is that money working, still working hard for you?
Okay, let's get to the part of the show where we get practical. This is like the thing that I think really sets you apart in what you do. It's like, this isn't about getting things perfect. It's about getting them really, really good and easy. Yeah. So, if it has occurred to me ooh, I have rollover, inherited IRA, or, I just may have set up an account and I'm not sure if I ever invested the funds. Now what?
Yeah. So here's what I did. I literally, I told you at the open here, I logged into Schwab and I was like, oh man, I had this money that's sitting in cash.
Wait, can you set the scene for me for a second? Were you on a mission when you did this, or this was just like a, oh, wow moment?
You know what it was?
Actually, you were looking for this?
Yeah, no, there was a triggering event. So there was a triggering event. So that's one of the things that we'll talk about today, that you can put this in your calendar to set up your own trigger event. In this case, the trigger was my wife once a year gets her contribution to her 401k from her employer. So once a year it gets a contribution, the employer contribution, kind of a bonus payment into the 401k. So that triggered to me, oh, there's some money I should like kind of look at our portfolio or kind of see what's there. And that's when I realized like, oh, I've been sitting on this cash for like ever. I should do something. And what I did, Matt, to answer your question is like, I just bought the total US stock market fund. So I was like, 50 grand. I'm just going to buy total US stock market fund, made one trade and moved on. I didn't spend a lot of time.
It was a click.
It was one click, and I did not spend a lot of time trying to rebalance or where to put it. I was like, you know what? This wasn't a massive part of our overall portfolio, significant, but not massive. And so I could easily just say like, look, total US stock market, I can always rebalance in the future. That's a fine, getting practical, just click the button, move on.
Two things. First of all, this is like they say in Washington State, you can't get good apples because they export them all somewhere else, right? It feels to me like you are Washington State. You export all of your financial advice, and I can't get over the fact that this can happen to anyone. It can happen to you. And so what would have happened if you had not had that mental reminder? Is that something that, like, if people don't have that naturally occurring in their own lives, can you like set it up for yourself?
Yeah, well, they'll be fine because they're listening to this podcast, Matt. So
right.
it'll be perfect.
Is the trigger.
This is the trigger right here. Yeah. So one of the things you can do is set up a calendar event. If you don't have a kind of built-in trigger, I do recommend, once a year. It could be on like a birthday. It could be the start of the new year. It could be before tax time. Set a calendar event just to review all your accounts briefly. Like, oh, what are they all? Where is everything? Is there anything that I need to do? It doesn't have to be a lot of time once that calendar event rolls around. It could literally be 30 minutes, just kind of a quick review. But I do think it's worth having some kind of triggering event to take stock of, hey, did something happen in the last 6 or 12 months that I need to pay attention to?
So if there's an action item from this episode, it's just to keep this real simple. Either you've heard this and you're like, oh, this applies to me, or it doesn't. But either way, all you need to do is go to your calendar. Like, you might be listening to this in the car and it's like, I'm not going to do this right now. All you need to remember to do is go to your calendar and set up like 10 minutes for yourself to log in, check it out, and just see if it's in. But what does that look like? Like, how do you know whether your money's invested or not?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think it's going to be a little more than 10 mintes, probably be like half an hour, maybe up to an hour once a year. Okay. So
you want to do this for everything.
Yeah, I would just take a look at your accounts. So you mentioned 8 different jobs, maybe you have 8 different accounts. You just want to make sure they're all in good shape. A quick login kind of review. Yeah, nothing's changed. Great. Move to the next one. But you might catch something like, oh yeah, I did, there was a deposit of 20 grand that I never got invested. That's the kind of thing that you're on the lookout for.
I see. And so does it make sense to set that up? Like, if you're going to do your calendar, would it make sense to do that like February, March, as maybe you're like getting all your documentation together for tax time?
Yeah, you could do it. I mean, really, you could do it kind of at any time. So you could do it at tax time. You could do it at the start of the year is a great one. You could combine it with like kind of putting together your net worth. So you could have a little bit of a longer, session. But I just think in this case, it's like worth setting it in the calendar. Like, hey, review counts. Do I have excess cash? Do I have the right balance? Just really quick and easy, not trying to get all fancy with like, ooh, do I have the right US versus international? Is it 10% or 11%? Don't stress about it. Keep it really simple, but you're just on the lookout for extra cash. And the other reason, Matt, it's not only that, I will say you should definitely do this because dividends really add up. So you'll log back into your IRA account and notice that you've got $5,000. You're like, wait, where did that come from? Because the investments you have are spitting off dividends. They might not get reinvested. And so you check back in 6 months, 12 months later, hey, you've got $5,000 sitting there that's just sitting in cash that you can just go ahead and one click, buy the US stock market or, international market or whatever it is, keep in a low cost index fund and get on with your day.
All right. I have 2 questions stacked up for you about this. One is, What if you are listening to this and you're saying, this sounds good. You had me until the 1 hour thing. And I get that I should probably spend an hour. But what if I just remembered, oh, no, wait, I really do have a rollover and I'm not sure it's invested. There is a 5 or 10 minute version of this, right? Like where you just take care of that one thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you find yourself realizing, oh, yeah, I never on one of these accounts. Again, just use my story, right? I logged in. I just bought the total US stock market, moved on. Now, be careful. If it's a significant amount, maybe you do want to take the extra time and really sit down and come up with the right balance, the right investments for you, all of that kind of stuff. But the quick and dirty, if it's a smaller amount across all your portfolio, you just want to keep that money working for you. Yeah, just buy the low cost index fund, move on.
That was actually my second question is, I'm not going to do a math exercise or ask you to do like a detailed math exercise, like on the fly here. But you mentioned that you did just buy the total US stock market fund, right? Very quick and easy selection. Do you have like a ballpark sense? Because this is so much what you're about and what the show is about is, really, really good solutions that are actually better than perfect solutions because they're so much easier. And this strikes me as one of those that kind of falls into that really good. When you make a selection like that, like just do the total US stock market because it's easy and you're not losing that much versus like an optimal balanced, et cetera. You're not saying don't balance your portfolio. I mean, that's an important thing to do. But can you give me like a ballpark sense of, like how good is that compared to the optimal solution?
Yeah, easy. First of all, it's the best solution because it's one you're actually going to do, which are the only solutions that matter. All right. But here's the ballpark. If it's long-term money that you're not going to be, you don't expect to use, so it's like it's in a retirement account. You're like, I'm not retiring for a few years at least. So it's not for a while and it's less than 10% of your net worth. So it's, it could be a bunch, but it's not significant. We're not talking 30, 40%. Then you can just click the button and move on.
That's it. So it's just don't stress it.
Yeah. Don't stress, man. The biggest thing is keep your money working for you. Long-term money works best for you by being invested. So do that.
Well, this is helpful. This is very good. I mean, it sounds like what I'm taking away from this is, yes, there's like the A+ version of this, which is once a year, bite the bullet. It's an hour, put it on your calendar, and you can do this exercise comprehensively. But if you want to do the quick and dirty version just for, like, oh, I know I've got this account, this triggered for me. Yeah. You can do it. You can even do the ultra fast 1-click 5-minute version.
Yeah. And what I'd recommend is kind of both of those, Matt. I mean, to be honest, like personal finance is something you got to stay on top of. It's like cleaning your house. Yeah. You can get away day to day, like a few dishes pile up, but eventually you're going to have to like tidy things up and it gets harder and harder as time goes on. The same is true with finances. Like the more you stay on top of it with 10 or 15 minutes or 1 hour once a year, like it's going to run very smoothly for you. So yes, if this triggered like a certain account or event that you have that you didn't get to, do the 5 or 10 minute version. Hey, just get it done, move on. And also I recommend, yearly checking in with a little more depth, a little more clarity to make sure you're on track.
All right. It sounds great. Anything else we want to cover on this?
No, that's it, man. Keep it simple.
Our fun one thing, which is like our gift to you, the listener.
Oh yeah, that's right. What's the one thing for today, Matt?
Okay. All right, let's get to it. So we were talking before we started recording the episode about something that's hanging over me. Like we've been kind of spitballing about what are things that are, on all of our to-do lists, and they probably connect in some way to your budget, your money, whatever. It doesn't have to. And it occurred to me that I've got a lot of things that auto renew every month. I pay a little bit every month. And it could be like a subscription to a streaming service. It could be, any number of services. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, because they're all such relatively small micro amounts, I've sort of let them build up. And I'm pretty confident that I have between $100 a month and $500 a month in recurring payments for services.
Yeah.
And I'm also confident that I don't know what all of them are.
Yeah.
Like,
all right.
I couldn't round them off for you.
Here's what we're going to do, Matt. You said 100 to 500.
Yeah.
I will make a bet with you. I'll bet it's over 500. I'll bet it's over 500. And you don't know what they are. So here's what you're going to do. You and I will both do this. We will.
We're both going to do this. All right. I will do this if and only if we Thelma and Louise this together.
All right. Geez. So I had to do. All right. Hold on a second. I got to come up with a number too. So I think yours is going to be over 500 a month. We're going to go through all of them. Now, I have a lot of these on my business. My business, oh my goodness, has so many recurring software subscriptions and everything. But on the personal side,
no, that's in. That is in. And wait, are we defining annual or monthly, or both?
Oh, that's a good. No, let's do the monthly subscriptions.
Monthly,
and I'm going to do just the personal side, because my business would just leave me in tears, Matt, if I added that up. I'm going to guess mine is. Well, hold on a sec. I have a question, clarifying question. I set up. We get ski passes, for like the Epic Pass for skiing for the year, but I put them on like a monthly. Because I got 0% financing. Does that count? Or are we just talking like we're just talking ongoing monthly subscriptions?
I would say anything that appears on your credit card bill or your bill once a month is included.
Oh, really? Holy smoke. Well, then I'm like, well, those ski passes, I have a family of 5, my friend. They're not cheap.
So do I, dude. So here's the thing. Here's what we're offering to do for the listener. Right. We're going to do an experiment, right?
All right. Yeah.
So you're going to tally this up.
All right. We're going to tally.
I'm going to tally this up.
Okay.
And the key thing is not the bottom line number, which I'm not for sure yet that I want to reveal publicly on the air. The bigger question is, do I know what all of it is? Because I think what stresses me out about this situation is I don't mind having all of that if I know what it is and I'm getting value out of it. What stresses me is the idea that I might have a lot of things that I'm paying for that I'm not aware of and not getting value of. So I think what we should do as an experiment here is you do the exercise, I do the exercise. What I want to find out is how many things were sort of like like you discovered with the rollover.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, wow, I have this. And do I want to keep it? Because I think what I want to arrive at for people is, what is it worth my time? Like, I'm going to spend an hour doing this. And so on an hourly pay basis, is it worth it? Will I discover enough that I decide to cancel that it's worth it? Or should I just throw
No doubt. There's no doubt you will find something to cancel, many things to cancel that will be worth an hour of your time. That's also my guess.
All right. No, this is good. So we'll go through this. I'm going to time budget myself 1 hour for this exercise.
All right, good. I like it. All right. We'll report back.
We're going to do this as a service and if we discover that it's worth it in terms of savings, then maybe people will want to do that themselves. And if not, then you can feel the relief of stress that it's like, you know what? I am in hock to these businesses for the rest of time.
That's right.
And it's fine. I'm just going to let go.
Awesome. Sounds perfect.
All right, man. That is it. So we will see you next time on Practical Finance for Parents.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for joining us on Financial Life Planning. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to and rate the podcast on Apple iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. It makes a massive difference. If you have a comment or question, please email me, mike@mortonfa.com. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be considered for investment advice. Opinions expressed are as of the date of recording. Such opinions are subject to change. I cannot guarantee the accuracy or completeness of the data presented here.